with breaking news out of western Colombia. A 7.4 magnitude earthquake rattled the region earlier today.
At 7:34 a.m. on Monday morning, a violent earth tremor ripped through western Colombia, triggering catastrophic damage across multiple departments, sending panic-stricken residents fleeing into the streets, and overwhelming emergency services with desperate calls for help. The powerful quake reverberated hundreds of miles from its epicenter, jarring major metropolitan centers including Cali, Medellin, and Bogotá, while rattling neighboring South American nations. The Colombian Geological Service later confirmed that a massive magnitude 7.4 earthquake had struck the region, officially identifying it as the single largest seismic event recorded within Colombia's borders during the 21st century. By the evening of August 10, a national disaster briefing delivered directly by Colombia's president confirmed at least 132 dead, 700 injured, and 188 people missing beneath collapsed concrete. The president further reported that approximately 5,000 homes were damaged or completely destroyed. 3 major hospitals had structurally collapsed. 18 additional healthcare facilities were compromised, and 86 buildings were flattened as emergency operations stretched deep into the night under fear that casualty figures would continue climbing. While this disaster did not result in total national ruin or surpass historical centuries-old records, it plunged the hardest-hit Western communities into a harrowing, rapidly unfolding emergency long after the initial shaking subsided. According to technical data published by the Colombian Geological Service, known as the USGS, the main earthquake struck at precisely 7:34 a.m. local Colombian time on August 10, corresponding to 12:34:29 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time. Seismologists pinpointed the epicenter near San José del Palmar, a rural municipality located in the department of Chocó. Following rigorous manual analysis, the USGS placed the focal depth at approximately 96 kilometers, or roughly 60 miles beneath the Earth's surface. Concurrently, the United States Geological Survey calculated a closely aligned yet slightly different seismic profile, registering the event as magnitude 7.4 MW at a depth of 107 kilometers, positioning the epicenter at coordinates 4.903 degrees north and 76.189 degrees west, roughly 5 kilometers east of San José del Palmar. These minor statistical discrepancies between the USGS and USGS do not mean either monitoring agency is incorrect. In modern seismology, calculated parameters such as location, depth, and magnitude routinely vary based on differing observational networks, regional crustal models, and mathematical processing algorithms. Numerical figures are frequently updated as global analysts ingest additional real-time seismic waveforms and conduct manual data verification. This standard revision process was clearly visible during the early hours following the disaster. Preliminary USGS estimates initially reported the shock at magnitude 6.7 and 6.6 at a 96-kilometer depth, before subsequent detailed analysis upgraded the official reading to 7.4. Consequently, magnitude 7.4 remains the finalized figure adopted by global authorities, with the USGS specifying its rating as moment magnitude, MW. While the USGS reports a matching 7.4 value without explicitly detailing the scale in identical terms, because this earthquake originated at an intermediate focal depth beneath the crust, seismic energy radiated across an extraordinarily broad geographical area, explaining why strong shaking was experienced across vast distances even though catastrophic physical destruction remained localized in vulnerable urban pockets. In total, the USGS logged over 12,000 felt reports originating from nearly 900 populated centers. Violent movement was reported throughout Chocó, Valle del Cauca, Risaralda, Caldas, Cundinamarca, Antioquia, and beyond, jolting high-rise structures in the capital city of Bogotá, despite its considerable distance from the epicenter. The tremors extended well past international borders. Ecuador's Geophysical Institute recorded a maximum observed intensity of IV on the European Macroseismic Scale, EMS 98, across Carchi, Imbabura, and Esmeraldas, alongside lighter movement in several adjoining provinces. Simultaneously, Panama's Civil Protection Agency monitored the event after tremors were felt locally, while reports of subtle ground motion were also logged in Venezuela. Crucially, early disaster coverage often overlooks a fundamental scientific distinction. Earthquake magnitude and localized shaking intensity measure completely different phenomena. Magnitude measures the total energy released at the seismic source, whereas intensity describes the physical force of ground motion and resulting damage experienced at a specific geographic site. The SGC reported a maximum observed intensity of 7 on the 12-level EMS 98 scale, a metric that must not be misinterpreted as a rating of 7 out of 10 or confused with magnitude. At intensity 7, even well-constructed edifices suffer moderate structural damage, whereas older, unreinforced, or vulnerable buildings face catastrophic failure. Geologically, Colombia sits within an extremely complex tectonic collision zone, where the oceanic Nazca Plate subducts underneath the South American continental plate. Seismologists at the SGC identified a predominantly strike-slip focal mechanism for this intermediate depth rupture. However, while researchers can clearly define the surrounding subduction dynamics, no official scientific authority has conclusively linked this rupture to a specific named fault system at this time. In the immediate aftermath of the quake, initial casualty reports were sparse and fragmented. Early municipal updates confirmed 18 fatalities in Pereira and 2 in Manizales, with national totals quickly escalating to 29, then 47, and ultimately surging far higher as rescue teams established contact with remote districts. These early numbers were not inaccurate when initially published. Rather, they represented rapid real-time snapshots of an evolving crisis. Modern reporting demands that all casualty figures be presented with precise timestamps and verified sources. By 5:30 p.m. local time, the Colombian Association of Capital Cities confirmed 132 deaths, over 570 injuries, and 86 collapsed structures nationwide, prompting red alerts across 5 departmental capitals: Pereira, Cali, Quibdó, Manizales, and Armenia. Pereira suffered the heaviest urban death toll, where local fatality spiked from an initial 18 to 60. In Cali, the catastrophe deepened rapidly throughout the evening. The city's mayor confirmed at least 20 collapsed buildings, 188 missing citizens, and emergency response units scrambling across dozens of search sites. Later that night, President Abelardo de la Espriella delivered a live national address, officializing the casualty count at 132 dead, upgrading injuries to 700, and confirming 5,000 homes damaged or destroyed, alongside 3 collapsed hospitals and 18 compromised medical facilities. These updated executive figures superseded earlier regional reports, reflecting the rapid synthesis of municipal data by federal emergency authorities. With 188 people remaining unaccounted for, officials warned the public that the death toll would almost certainly continue rising as heavy machinery cleared tons of concrete debris. Specific regional impacts varied dramatically. In Manizales, municipal death tolls rose to 4, accompanied by Reuters verified video showing the harrowing collapse of a historic cathedral tower during the main shock. Surrounding residential districts suffered extensive damage, forcing thousands of terrified families to sleep outdoors as structural engineers evaluated building safety. In Chocó, severe telecommunication blackouts and blocked mountain transit severely hindered early damage assessments. Early reports from the departmental governor cited 12 dead and 84 injured, with the capital city of Quibdó placed on red alert as search operations mobilized across difficult terrain. One of the most horrific localized reports emerged from El Cairo in Valle del Cauca, where the regional governor estimated that roughly 80% of the municipality's structures and residential homes were damaged or entirely destroyed. While representing a localized crisis of catastrophic proportions, official sources emphasized that this localized destruction did not mean entire major cities or the nation as a whole were leveled. Earlier nationwide surveys released by the central government around midday listed 1,075 damaged homes, 37 fully destroyed residences, and 61 collapsed buildings, alongside structural damage to 18 healthcare centers, 52 schools, 17 community spaces, 18 major roadways, and 7 regional airports. However, these figures quickly grew as urban assessments expanded in Cali and surrounding regions. Critical transportation and utility infrastructure across western Colombia suffered heavy disruption. Major regional airports temporarily grounded flights or restricted operations to allow engineers to perform immediate runway and terminal structural audits. Transportation corridors were severed by massive rockfalls, landslides, and fallen debris, forcing rescue teams to perform rigorous structural evaluations on bridges and overpasses before opening access routes. Widespread power outages, water service disruptions, and cellular network failures were reported throughout Cali and neighboring towns. However, federal authorities refrained from releasing unverified nationwide outage totals, applying the same cautious verification standards to population displacement statistics. Although thousands of families were forced to sleep in open-air shelters or public plazas, official agencies avoided publishing speculative displacement numbers, noting that photographic evidence of street shelters cannot be converted into unverified national metrics without official census tallies. Responding to the unprecedented disaster, President Abelardo de las Priela declared a state of national emergency, directing all government assets toward a single priority: extracting trapped survivors from the rubble. A massive task force comprising urban search and rescue teams, firefighters, national police officers, military units, specialized medical corps, and civilian volunteers deployed across western Colombia. In Cali, rescue crews navigated unstable concrete slabs, sheared load-bearing walls, and rubble-strewn streets. In one extraordinary rescue recorded by Reuters, emergency workers successfully pulled a living baby and her mother from the wreckage of a collapsed building, a beacon of hope amidst dozens of ongoing search operations as frantic families gathered outside perimeter lines awaiting news of missing loved ones. Operational hospitals faced an overwhelming surge of trauma victims while simultaneously managing severe physical damage to their own facilities. In several affected zones, medical staff were forced to evacuate patients onto open lawns and sidewalks, while engineers inspected structural integrity. To maintain public order and prevent civil unrest, local authorities established strict security protocols, imposing night curfews across several hard-hit municipalities to curb looting and keep vital transit corridors clear for emergency vehicles. Public gatherings were suspended nationwide, and additional military detachments were deployed to reinforce local police forces. Globally, the United States announced immediate financial relief, while neighboring Latin American governments and international partners pledged logistical aid and rescue equipment to support the Colombian-led emergency response. The immediate danger did not cease when the primary earthquake ended. In its initial public release, the SGC confirmed that 18 distinct aftershocks had struck the region by noon, ranging from magnitude 1.4 to 4.8, with later official updates pushing the total past 21 events. The most powerful aftershock occurred at approximately 8:20 a.m. local time, less than an hour after the main shock. The SGC registered this event at magnitude 4.8 at a depth of 88 kilometers, while the USGS recorded the same event as magnitude 5.0 at a depth of 98.5 kilometers. As with the main shock, this minor variance reflects independent scientific processing rather than two separate earthquakes. Seismologists caution that aftershocks are a standard geophysical reality following a major rupture and will likely continue for days, weeks, or even months. Although most aftershocks are smaller than the main event, even moderate tremors possess enough force to collapse previously compromised buildings and endanger rescue crews working inside structural ruins. While the SGC explicitly warned the public to expect ongoing aftershocks, scientists emphasize that these tremors do not indicate an imminent larger earthquake. Modern science can assess seismic probability and identify fault hazard zones, but it remains impossible to predict the exact time, location, or magnitude of a future earthquake. Authorities urged residents across damaged districts to ignore viral panic-inducing predictions on social media, stay out of visibly damaged structures, and follow official emergency directives. Because Colombia features an extensive Pacific coastline, major seismic events routinely spark immediate fears of destructive tsunamis. Addressing these concerns, Colombia's Maritime Authority, DIMAR, issued an official bulletin at 8:04 a.m. local time, explicitly confirming that the earthquake posed zero tsunami threat to the coast, because the rupture occurred deep inland beneath the continental crust, rather than at a shallow offshore seafloor fault. No vertical displacement of the ocean floor occurred, and no tsunami warnings were issued. Furthermore, the SGC directly debunked viral rumors attempting to connect the earthquake to volcanic activity at Nevado del Ruiz, Peru, officially confirming that the San José del Palmar event was completely unrelated to regional volcanic systems. Across neighboring countries, the impact was vastly muted compared to Colombia's epicenter. In Ecuador, ground shaking was felt across multiple provinces, but resulted in significantly lower intensities. Official early assessments confirmed 6 damaged homes and 0 fatalities. Panama's civil protection agencies reported widespread felt tremors, but confirmed no local damage or casualties following field inspections. Similarly, Venezuela logged felt movement without reporting physical damage. In Peru, official authorities confirmed 0 deaths, structural collapses, or severe damage linked to the event, with international news agencies reminding media outlets not to attribute unrelated regional footage to the Colombian earthquake. From a historical perspective, while the magnitude 7.4 event represents a monumental disaster, it is not the strongest earthquake ever recorded in Colombia. The SGC's precise designation identifies it as the largest earthquake recorded within Colombian territory during the 21st century. Historically, vastly larger events have devastated the region, including the massive 1906 Colombia-Ecuador earthquake, estimated at magnitude 8.8, and the catastrophic 1979 Tumaco earthquake, magnitude 8.2. Furthermore, official data refutes sensationalist social media claims that entire major cities were erased from the map, while specific neighborhoods, rural towns, and vulnerable structures suffered catastrophic damage. the geographical footprint of total destruction remained localized. Similarly, early online claims alleging thousands of deaths were entirely unconfirmed. At the time of reporting, the official nationwide death toll stood at 132, with 700 injuries and 188 missing. Officials cautioned media organizations that rapid computer-generated hazard models, such as the USGS pager systems, Orange Alert, estimate theoretical economic and human impacts for initial emergency response planning, but do not represent verified, ground-observed casualty counts. Journalistic integrity remains vital when reporting on social media video footage during an active crisis. Dramatic clips showing collapsing towers or crushed streets must undergo rigorous location, date, and origin verification before broadcast. Repurposed footage from historic international disasters or mislabeled clips from distant cities can easily spread misinformation, create unnecessary panic, and obscure real-world emergency efforts. Ultimately, magnitude alone does not dictate the severity of a disaster. An earthquake's true impact is determined by a complex interaction of depth, distance, local soil conditions, architectural design, construction quality, and population density. Across western Colombia, seismic waves struck densely populated urban centers containing a high concentration of older, unreinforced, or informal structures that lacked modern seismic engineering. Compounding the crisis, Colombia's rugged mountainous terrain triggered massive landslides and rockfalls, severing rural roads and isolating mountain villages. In the dense rainforests of Chocó, difficult geography, heavy vegetation, and severed communication lines severely delayed early damage assessments, leaving emergency commanders blind to the full scale of rural destruction during the critical first hours. The unfolding disaster cannot be understood through a single magnitude number. It is the tragic intersection of a powerful geophysical event and human vulnerability. For emergency response teams, the initial 24 hours focused purely on life-saving operations, pulling victims from collapsed buildings, stabilizing dangerous structures, treating severe trauma patients, and clearing primary access corridors into cut-off communities. The recovery phase facing Colombia will be long and arduous. Government engineers must inspect thousands of homes, hospitals, schools, bridges, and public facilities to determine structural safety. Thousands of displaced citizens who lost their homes will require long-term temporary shelter, financial aid, and humanitarian assistance. Civil utility crews face massive infrastructure repairs to restore water networks, electrical grids, transport corridors, and telecommunication systems in the coming months. Municipal planning authorities will face tough decisions regarding where it is safe to rebuild and how to enforce stricter seismic building codes to protect vulnerable populations from future events. All statistical figures contained within this report remain provisional, as heavy equipment clears collapsed structures in Cali, Pereira, and surrounding municipalities. The confirmed death toll is expected to rise, while official injury and property damage tallies will be continuously updated as municipal records are synchronized with federal disaster databases. Throughout this evolving catastrophe, responsible journalism demands strict adherence to verification standards. Every casualty figure must be accompanied by an official source and timestamp. Magnitude must never be conflated with local shaking intensity. Computer-generated probability models must not be presented as confirmed deaths, and unverified social media footage must not be broadcast without independent confirmation. As confirmed in the President's national address, the disaster stands at 132 dead, 700 injured, 188 missing, and over 5,000 homes damaged or destroyed. As search and rescue teams press forward through shattered concrete in Cali, Pereira, and across western Colombia, Emergency officials warn that the human toll will continue to climb. Behind every shift in the official numbers is a family desperately waiting for news, a shattered community assessing its losses, and emergency workers refusing to give up search operations. The magnitude 7.4 earthquake shook the earth for only a few fleeting moments, but Colombia's journey of rescue